everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. Today I'm going to be doing another 5 book recommendations video, and I'm going to be giving you 5 children's books recommendations. If you don't really know what these kind of videos are because you're quite new to my channel, essentially I just have a thing going on where I do videos giving 5 different book recommendations within different genres and themes. So I have a whole playlist of them. I have ones for literary fiction and historical fiction, classics, poetry, LGBTQIA+, there's a bunch. As I already said, today we're going to be talking about children's books. As I always do in these videos, I've tried to include a bit of a mix, so hopefully there should be something that sparks everyone's interest if you're watching this video. I've included a contemporary book, a classic book, an illustrated book, and a couple of more quirky choices. All of these are fab, I really recommend them all, and I hope you enjoy hearing about them. So the first book that I'm going to recommend in this video is The Restless Girls by Jessie Burton. This is an illustrated retelling of the story of the 12 Dancing Princesses, in which King Alberto essentially takes away all of the freedom of his 12 daughters in order to try and keep them safe. The daughters are not happy about this. This is quite a new book. It only came out at the latter end of last year, I think, and it is incredibly on trend with being a retelling of a classical story. We're absolutely loving those at the moment, aren't we, with things like Circe and The Silence of the Girls. And it's also a feminist retelling as well, which is so on point, both because we love retellings that are feminist and modern and take a bit of a different spin on things, and also feminism in children's books is a huge thing at the moment. This book is wonderful. It's everything you'd expect and hope for. The story is such a joy to follow, and it's really exciting and magical, and all of the girls in here are just so strong and resilient and resourceful and witty and just fab. There are strong themes in here of bravery and loving yourself and being true to who you are and leading the life you want to lead. And the illustration style in here is so gorgeous. It is so unique and colourful and magical, and it really just fits the story perfectly. There's an illustration in here that is so gorgeous. It's where a girl meets a lion, and I think it is beautiful. There it is. Look how gorgeous that is. Children should read this, adults should read this. I just think it's a really lovely, enchanting story, and it's really empowering as well. So I just think this is a beautiful book. The next book that I'm going to recommend is a bit darker, and that is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. So I love Neil Gaiman as a writer. His writing is often quite strange, but I think genius, and that's how I'd sum up this book. If you're wanting a children's book that is a bit odd and a little bit more quirky and a bit creepier, then this is the one for you. This book tells a story of a young boy called Nobody Owens, who after the death of his family goes and lives in a graveyard and is brought up by the ghosts and other supernatural creatures who live there. Throughout this book we get to follow the different adventures and dangers that face Nobody, and there's quite a lot of these because a man called Jack is trying to kill him. This is just so fun. I found this so entertaining and enthralling when I read it. It has that kind of signature Gaiman sweet but creepy feel to it, and there's definitely elements of whimsy and sadness and suspense. And the writing in here is unsurprisingly great. Neil Gaiman's just a master storyteller, isn't he? His writing is so luminous, I guess. I don't really know how else to say it. There's just so much life and imagination to it, and it's really unique. If this sounds interesting to you, then I definitely recommend picking it up. I think it's a great little book, and it'll only take you like a day to read. The next book that I'm going to recommend is a great one, and that is Minas Voice by Henna Khan. So this is a contemporary children's novel that follows our protagonist Amina, who is a young American Pakistani girl. So throughout the book we just get to see Amina's life day to day over quite a short period of time when her uncle is visiting her family from Pakistan. This book is fantastic. It offers such a great insight into Amina's life. So we get to see her at home and her relationship with her parents and her brother, and how all of this changes a bit when her uncle comes to stay. We get to see her attend school and learn about her relationship with her best friend Sujin, and we get to see her go to her family's mosque and attend Sunday school. So on one level, this is just a lovely contemporary children's story that has a lot of very believable and relatable children's day-to-day struggles in it. So we have sibling disputes and friendship rivalries, and Amina wanting to join a singing contest at school but not feeling quite brave enough to do so. But I also found that this book offered a really good insight into what it could be to be a Pakistani American Muslim today, and I'm not a Pakistani American Muslim, so that was really interesting to me. Throughout the story we get to learn quite a lot about Amina's family's culture and some of the rituals they do, but it's never info dumpy or heavy or lectury. It's just Amina's life, and it comes across really naturally in the story. This book is gorgeous. It definitely has some really serious moments in it, but ultimately it's just really lovely and uplifting and hopeful. I think it could be a really important read for a lot of people, and Amina's just a fab protagonist, so I couldn't recommend this more. The next book that I'm going to recommend, I don't actually have with me because it's at home at my mum's house, so I'll put a picture in, but that is A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. I'm just going to recommend the whole series. So this is my recommendation for you if you want something a bit more humorous with a little bit of mystery. So while this book isn't necessarily laugh out loud funny, I stand by the fact that this is one of the most cleverly hilarious books I have ever read. So I'm sure you all know the story of this by now, especially because of the multiple screen adaptations there are of it. But in case you don't, it is about the three Baudelaire siblings who become orphaned after their parents' house burns down, and then the series follows them essentially trying to escape the claws of their distant relative Count Olaf, who is trying to steal their fortune. This is some of the best writing ever, I swear to God. The novels are narrated by Lemony Snicket, who is a character who is involved in the Baudelaire story and their mystery. And the narrative voice is so strong, it is so distinct and so clever, and you get a real sense of Lemony Snicket as well as the Baudelaire children who he's actually talking about. The story threads running through this series are genius. When you're reading each of the books, you're trying to figure out what's happening in that particular book, but you're also being fed information that should help you put together different clues about the larger mysterious picture. And when everything comes together at the end, it is so good. The characters in here are so amazing as well. They're all so interesting and bizarre and unique and just really fun to read about. Count Olaf is one of the best villains of all time. I honestly just think these books are so good. They are some of the most unique books I've ever read, and I love them for that. And the final book that I'm going to recommend to you in this video is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. This copy was actually gifted to me by my lovely friend Laura because she knows how much I love the book. Can you see her cute little note there? So this is a very well-loved children's classic that I read when I was younger and really liked, but I actually reread it last summer and fell head over heels in love with it. So it became an instant favourite of mine and I had to mention it in this list. This story follows a young girl called Mary Lennox who moves from India to the Yorkshire Moors after her parents die. So she moves into this massive, gloomy, foreboding manor called Misselthwaite Manor that is owned by her uncle. At the beginning of the novel, Mary is a very stubborn and selfish and even spiteful young girl, but she goes on quite the journey throughout the book as she finds a secret garden and some family and friends along the way. This book is perfect, I think. You know when you're reading a book and it just has every single element that you wanted it to, and it's doing all of them so well, and you're thinking, God, I just hope it can keep this up to the end, and then it does. That is this book. The characters in this book are so great. They are all so interesting and lovable in their own ways, and Mary is the best. The way that childhood experiences and emotions are depicted through her are so spot on. And the story is gorgeous. It is so enchanting and intriguing all the way through. The writing is also perfect. It's accessible for children and adults alike, but it doesn't lack any grace or elegance. Frankly, Frances Hodgson Burnett smashed it when she wrote this book. I couldn't recommend it more highly, and if you like children's literature at all, then you really must pick this up. It's a masterpiece. So those were 5 of my children's book recommendations. I really hope you enjoyed hearing about them, and I'd love to talk with you about them down below if you've read them or want to read any of them. Also, please give me some of your children's book recommendations. I'm always open to reading more fab children's books. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. As always, I hope you're well, I hope your weeks are going well, and I will see you next week. Bye, everyone. And she moves into a really massive, foreboding estate called Mansfield Park.